goes out.
Trying my level best.
Your level. Hey, did you
Get it?
Yeah, I got it. Did you know your audio actually was quite good, even though you weren't talking to the mic?
Well, maybe these fucking mics aren't that important.
The microphone is very important.
Very important.
Very important. All right. Are we ready to go?
Yes, Paul. I do believe that we are ready to go.
Hello there. Welcome to episode 3. I'm holding 3 fingers up. That's the visual joke.
Yeah, that's the... okay.
3 fingers up because it's episode 3 of the Atkins Labcast.
Yep.
So who's our guest this time?
Bobby Hendry.
Bobby Hendry, isn't
The
it?
lovely Bobby Hendry.
Yes.
Who saved me and my sanity when I went to Gosford.
Oh, that's right. You met her first on your road trip of death.
Road trip. That's not how I referred to it in the marketing.
No, but it ended up feeling like the road trip of
No,
death.
it
didn't
was just a fucking long time. It was like 6 weeks on the road. And anyway,
it literally was.
no one
6 weeks
told
on.
me that Gosford is not a place that a lot
Don't
of
be-
people
don't be
have a
rude.
lot of weddings in. And it was like in a region where there's a lot of weddings, but not like the actual town itself. And I stayed in the most terrifying hotel I've ever stayed in.
Okay, let's stop being rude about a whole town or a hotel.
I'm not being rude about hot.
Yeah,
we
I
had
can
the best cafe, the best restaurant
I
thing.
can smell it coming.
And she shut up. And Bobby rocked up, and she was fantastic and lovely and sweary, and
Yeah.
she was glorious.
She really is, and you'll see or you'll
and she
hear.
took that beautiful photo of us
Yeah, that one that's on our profile or whatever, a celebration.
somewhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, there's something about her. She's very connected to her subjects. She is very open and ready to engage. I think it's come from a pretty tricky life, which will be revealed in
Yeah.
the thing. There's also a link in the show notes to an article or a project she did with the ABC. Well, not with the ABC, but it was interviewed on the ABC. 16 foster families and 38 homes
Yeah.
before she was 15.
See, I think we need a second podcast, which is where I take the guest and I don't talk about photography because, that's your thing. Because I'm not a photographer. You stop looking at your fucking laptop and
Hang
look
on.
at me. Look at me.
This is the
I'm your
podcast.
wife.
You can't keep
Yeah, but
making
you
new
have
podcasts.
to. You just can't keep looking at your bloody laptop. Look at me. It's called active listening, you fuckhead. Okay, listen
nod my head and
actively.
tip my head
No,
and say-
not your fucking head. Right, thank you. So what I'm thinking is we do another podcast, which is that I then take the person we interviewed through a therapy session. So I
This is gonna
do
be
the
all about you though, darling.
Yeah, no. I will use my decades in therapy to have a really different conversation that has nothing to do with photography, and
Okay.
no one will listen to it. But it'll be really fun. And oh God, I would so do that. That would be so much fun.
So next,
And then we could bring my shrink on.
What?
Just for a brief 10-minute window at the end where she could go, Kate, everything you said is shit. Don't do any of it.
so let's get back to the
Oh,
market.
he's got
Tell
a
me,
list. No, he's got a fucking list, people. He's all organised.
tell me about what is it? It's mid-April, early April.
It is the day after
Our wedding anniversary.
our which anniversary?
20th wedding anniversary.
20th.
8th of April 2000.
So
this is not about us, this podcast, is it?
What do you mean? No, but I thought we'd tell everybody how we met.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Okay, so.
Yeah, that's nice.
So.
Partly relevant, but whatever.
Oh, fuck. Okay, so how did we meet? What did I do? Oh,
Wait,
that's right. I needed to get.
You were trying to get into a degree.
I was trying to get into my graphic design degree, and I needed to shoot my portfolio.
Yes.
And
We're talking 1995 here.
No, 4.
Oh, sorry.
No, 5.
No, 95. That's when we first did.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, so I had to shoot my portfolio to get into graphics, and I shot it, and it was all yellow because I didn't know what tungsten was. And I came.
So
in
she was
Janet
shooting under tungsten, regular light globes.
On
which
film.
With regular film shows up really yellow because there's no
Transparency
white balance.
film.
You have to use a different kind of film, right?
That's right. And then I came in, and Janet said, "Oh, you have to use this different film." So I used a different film, and then and I was like, "Where do I go, Dad?" I asked my dad, and Dad was like, "Oh, you should, you could go to Atkins, but they're really expensive."
He did not.
He did. And then I went, after I did that, I was designing my website because I was early adopter on the web side of things. Frames, people. I brought frames to Australia.
Hey, tell you what, if you really want to go to the Wayback Machine and look at how bad our website was back then.
You just shut your face. You fucking asshole. Anyway,
Wayback
and
Machine.
so
I'm
then,
writing that down as a show note.
Great. And then what did I do then? I then came in and said I needed my transparencies that I got into uni with scanned in so I could put it on my portfolio website.
Yes.
And Janet went, oh, well, you need to speak to Paul Atkins then. And I said, okay. And then Paul Atkins trotted around the other side of the bench and he was all with his big blue eyes. And
so basically we met here at the lab.
Smiley man. We did.
And you're a customer.
I was a customer.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
what was my pickup line?
And your pickup line was to email me photos of your dog.
Hang on, that wasn't the pickup line.
Yeah, no, your boat. You had a
No,
little
but that wasn't
boat.
the pickup line.
Yeah, you had a wooden boat, and I was like, oh my God, he has a wooden boat. And then you were like, oh, I think I need a website. So, like, could we have lunch and talk about the website? Because I was too scary to actually
and that was
ask out face to face. You had to fucking email me.
Sure, but the 4th of April 1995 was our first date anniversary. We went out to lunch, and that's the story, right?
Oh,
it was lovely. It was
so
fantastic.
romantic.
And then we got married, and then Simon Casson shot our wedding. And did
all on film, 1,200 shots.
1,200 shots. Wonderful wedding photographer.
Gorgeous infrared. The infrareds were so yummy.
Very special stuff. So that's all up on Facebook if you could be interested. We're interested,
Our
aren't we?
Facebook. What's up on Facebook?
I put some wedding photos up there this week.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
And everybody's liked them.
The overshare machine. I love an overshare, but I hate Facebook. And I'm never there.
Okay. So tell us what's going good in the photography world because
is this on your list?
It is because I'm trying to keep it's now 7 minutes and 10 minutes. There's a lockdown and a lot of people aren't doing anything. But I visited a customer.
So they've got time to listen to us.
I delivered a job to a customer because the courier service was so going to trash this giant order she had. Jade Phillip up in the Adelaide Hills.
Yep.
And I rounded up there and she was out in the street with her kids and they're all beautifully distanced between one another. But the street was a cul-de-sac. It was so packed full of kids. There was chalk all over the road. It was just amazing. And she'd been out doing porch portraits. Maybe not that day, but she'd done it for everyone in the street. And I thought it was such a killer thing. And I know it's not new. Everyone's been talking about it, but there's got to be a thing in that. I mean, I like where I live and I know a lot of people are pretty proud of their house, even if they're renting or whatever. Getting the family on the couch and shooting them from the front fence.
Oh, is that what she's doing?
That's what it is. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, she hasn't done it as a business. I don't think she's probably done it as a project. But man, what an awesome, lovely idea to do. Just to get your neighbourhood and to do that. It's a way to sort of connect everybody. And I'm sure there is an opportunity in there. But also, I heard another bit of good news from a
little list of.
I've got a list. Looks tick.
And I'll come in with the shit news at the end.
No, you won't.
So will.
So this is a customer. I won't mention the industry or who they are, but they're still operating and their industry's still operating, even though no one goes along to see the events. Right?
So their industry that they shoot for.
Yeah, and it's an event industry, but the event's still happening, but no public can go along. The event's still happening. So what they found is if they went and they were photographing like normal and behaving like normal, the business was nothing was happening because the people that will buy the stuff weren't there. So what they were doing is they immediately emailed proofs of the images that they were taking to the people, knowing that they're probably sitting around the television or whatever, watching, listening to the event. And because they're sitting kind of a trapped audience at home, their sales have basically doubled. But
do you think it's because they've got a trapped audience or because their turnaround time is different now?
I think the turnaround time is everything. The fact that they've got the product in their hands whilst the people are still excited about the event.
Yeah.
So that's a real challenge for anyone. I mean,
because that's one of the things that I talk to photographers about when I go on tour is like, look at, people who don't sell a lot of albums, for example. I'll say, why don't you get all your images ready for people to look at and then mock up an album. Because let's face it, you can mock up an album. It doesn't take that long. You go into
like
Smart Albums and just throw it all in there and mock it up and then send your clients a link to the album at the same time as they get their proofs. Because if that's the first... So my theory is it's so expensive to get a photographer to get a client to pay attention to you, right? That the highest level of interest that they have in you as a photographer is when they're going to see their photographs. So that is the point at which you want to hit them with all the feels and give me all your fucking money, right? So that's where I would say you send them at the same time a link to their album and say, look, I've designed an album. I know you guys said you weren't interested, but it's such a beautiful wedding. I couldn't stand it, or a beautiful shoot or whatever. And you mock it up and you say, look, I've sent it. Here it is. If you want it, I'll give you 10% off if you sign up this week for it. Whatever. However you want to swing it from a marketing perspective, but getting in while they're like hot and heavy and still love you,
I think
is so critical to actually making the sale, I think.
Yeah.
And certainly the clients that I know that do this have said that it's really, really helped.
Well, there's three drivers to any business, and everyone always thinks, loosely, think financially. There is what your prices are and what it costs you to do it. Everyone thinks that's it, but it's not. It's actually, the third thing is how often you can turn that around. So how many times you can, have a transaction. So you could actually have a low margin but more transactions and have the same result at the end, or fewer transactions and higher margin, right? So this is about speed.
You're saying that in a client number of clients basis,
possibly, or
not number of contacts with clients.
No, that's right. So this is a slightly different thing we're talking about. But I think one of the things people should consider is other ways of getting that information to their potential clients. And we've all, all of us included, have got a history with our clients. We've got 80 odd years of clients. We've got a database that goes back certainly to the early 90s. If you think about the clients that have visited you in the last few years, they understand who you are. You are still the same person. You delivered a good product to them. You've sold all that side to them. There is so much opportunities for marketing a back catalogue. And this is where people like Pick Time and Shoot Proof.
And I think I don't know, I've seen a lot of people coming to us and saying, I'm about to do a big blast out to all my clients who didn't order an album or didn't order a print or whatever, and say, hey, what do you want to do?
Yeah,
Let's do something. And that, I think, is a smart idea, especially if you're a shoot and burner who hasn't done a lot of work before, and you can go back to those people. Because I think people, as I've been saying, is like, I think people have like so much emotion in them at the moment, and everybody's so kind of stressed out and anxious, and we're not sleeping properly, and we're binging on all the fucking carbs. But, we're doing all that stuff, and I miss my family so much, my mum and my sister and then my nephews, and I can't see any of my extended family or any of my friends or anything else. So I think the ability to harness that emotional energy and turn it into sales, as viciously commercial as that sounds, is actually really opportune, and people can really do something with that if they do it carefully and gently and not sound like the monster that I sounded like just then.
Well, the other thing we should do before we hop into the Bobby interview is just mention, there was several art movements that were not so much art movements, but I suppose art responses to crisis in the past. And, art in the time of the plague was some incredible work came out in that time. And certainly with the Spanish flu, some incredible work and incredible artists were inspired and spurned on by it. And we've noticed that there are some projects going on. I think it's finished now, but the UN, the World Health Organization.
Yeah, they did. It finished today.
Or the 8th,
I think.
Or the 9th of April.
9th of April, but probably US
But they're doing
time.
a call for artists around beating COVID-19.
Yeah.
But I think, that's one thing, and that's the kind of positive thing. But there's so much more to be drawn of how you feel for it. And I think people working with a camera, we've got a unique way of seeing the world, and everyone has the unique experience. And most of the people I've actually spoken of having quite an upbeat time right now.
Yeah.
But
so can I get on my high horse yet?
No.
Oh, fuck you! Come on, I want to hop around on my high horse.
Are you going to be kind?
Yes.
Okay, go for it. And if it's 14 minutes, it's 15 minutes.
Shut up. So here's my problem. We are all, so I'm wearing, if you can't see because no one's watching the video, but I'm wearing.
Can you save this to after?
Shut up. No. Oh, what? No. Why should I say? Okay, fine. I'll save it till after.
The last thing I want to mention.
You me to be quiet.
The last thing I was going to mention before we bring in Bobby is besides that.
Besides the fact that Bobby does a thing, which you'll hear later in this in this episode. If you listen all the way through to the end, which you fucking well should. You should listen all the way through the end and then rate and share and subscribe and review. But no. But what Bobby does that I love is she does something with penises. Images of penises.
Yeah, she does, doesn't she?
And that's also, all I'm going to say.
Take note of it. Take note of it. Take note of a T-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, totally. But when she told me that she did that when I was in Gosford with her, and I may have laughed until I might have weed my pants just a little bit.
Really? Do we need to know that?
Well, I've had children. What are you going to do?
Cool. Well,
is that it? You got your little fucking list now? You're like, no, look, we're at 16 minutes in. This man is the follower of fucking rules like you would not believe.
Let's listen to Bob.
Look at you. You can't handle it, can you?
Listen to
what do
Bobby.
I just keep going and going? What are you going to do then?
You know what? I can press a stop recording. Enjoy the interview. So, hello, everybody. I'm on the call here with Bobby Hendry. And I met Bobby on the side of a mountain.
Good old volcano.
On the side of a volcano, which is kind of, I don't want this podcast to be about everyone I met on the mountain. But the fact is, it was one of those moments where I just went, oh shit, there's a whole world out there. And I'm so used to our little world of Australia and Adelaide and AIPP and all the stuff that has made my life and business. And it was so wonderful to be exposed to a bunch of people at once with different thinking but they're all in the same industry doing similar things in some way. But, the one of the first people I thought of that I wanted to speak with was you, Bobby, because you're so fresh to the industry. You got such a fantastic smile. You're so fresh to the industry, and you brought so much light to our little group up there. I mean, it was a pretty amazing group, a wild mix of people.
So good.
It really was so cool. But, you were there helping everybody, sort of leading ideas, bringing things to the party, full of excellent, exciting stories and tales. And since then, I've had a great look at your Instagram feed and your website, and I just love what you're doing. It's really cool. So we had to do this, right? We had to talk. We had to talk. So my thing about this podcast is why photography, and what's Bobby got about photography? Why is she interested in photography? What started you? Where did it all begin for you, Bobby?
So I was always interested in photography, I think. Always liked how things looked and the idea of being able to capture things. But I didn't get my first camera till I was 12. And I got it on Christmas Day. And then Boxing Day, the family I was with went to Dreamworld. And I put it in the little box, and we went up the Tower of Terror. And as I'm getting pulled up the Tower of Terror, I see this guy rifling through my bag and run off with my camera. So, I mean, it was definitely a Tower of Terror. I never thought I'd cry on a roller coaster, but I did. So yeah, that was my first ever camera. And then I didn't get one until I was, I had a film camera, but was never really good at using it. But then I was 18, finally got a job that paid some money. Had exactly enough to buy this camera I wanted, went to Camera House, bought it, and then had a friend message me, I posted on my Instagram, hey, I got a camera, this is cool. And a friend messaged me saying, hey, the photographer for the music festival I'm covering has just dropped out, do you want to come? And it was 3 days later or something. I was like, yeah, cool, why the fuck not? This is easy. I had one SD card and one battery. It was a 3-day festival. I think I shot the whole thing on JPEG. I had no idea what I was doing. But I had heaps of fun getting amongst people and just taking photos of everything that was going on. And it was the best time, eating food with other really cool musicians and just hanging out with just weird people.
So you had a backstage pass, did you? You had an all access.
Oh yeah, I was climbing the scaffolding on the stage to get photos. It was fun. It was an awesome first taste of photography. And then the photos actually turned out okay, considering that I had literally no clue what I was doing.
So and how long ago was this?
This was the first ever Lost Paradise. I don't know what year that was. Maybe 2013, 14.
Okay.
Yeah, it was after I'd finished high school. So I'm quite a baby. But yeah, so then...
Hang on. You're quite a baby. How old are you? You do look young, but...
I'm 24 and 3/4.
Okay, so that's cool. You're growing up.
I'm growing up.
You're growing up. You're all good.
I was born after Lion King. So yeah, I mean...
ALK, after Lion King.
After Lion King, I think that's how you should date things now. But yeah, like it was a really fun time. I had like fun hanging out with people, getting to know people, and just capturing just all the weird stuff different groups of people got up to, and then delivered the photos to the magazine. It got like a 20-page spread. I was like, cool, like this has kind of been too bad. And then it wasn't long after that where I had a friend.
Hey, what magazine was it, by the way?
It was a local one. I think it was called Coast, like a Central Coast magazine.
Yep.
So, you know, it's a Central Coast Festival.
So you're Central Coast now. You are.
I'm Central Coast based now. So, you know, Tuoi, place so nice they named it twice. It's a great little place. If anyone knows Woi Woi, they know it's the Mount Druitt of the Central Coast. So, yeah, you should know Mount Druitt. But, yeah, no, it was, just a nice little local thing. And then I had a friend call me, like, not long after that saying, you know, I'd posted some photos on my Instagram saying that their photographer had just bailed on them for their wedding and, like, could I cover it? And I was like, again, like, yeah, why the fuck not? Like, sure. I'd never even attended a wedding at this point. Ever.
Can you hear all the photographers going, oh, my God, she's going to shoot a wedding.
What do you mean?
And all she's done is climb some scaffold.
Like, but, you know, these guys knew, like, they were friends of mine. They knew what they were getting. I don't think, like, they didn't have much budget. I think I got $500 in a meal. But, you know, like, they were just, like, they just wanted a photographer to cover their day. And, yeah, you know, took photos of it. Everything went fine. You know, I was actually really, like, happy with them. I looked at them and I was like, oh, yeah, like, these aren't shit. This is cool. And they were stoked. They were so happy. And they are like still one of my favorite couples. Like they comment and like every single thing I post. Like they are dead set legends. And then after I shot that wedding, I moved to New Zealand.
What?
I lived on Ruapehu. I lived on the Whakapapa side, which
Really?
It's
so
cool.
that's where you picked up snowboarding.
Yeah, so I lived there for a season just to snowboard. You know, I'd been working at this day job that I hated and couldn't work out how to quit, so I thought just moving a country might help. And I was actually dating the boss's son at the time, so it made it really easy to quit. I was like, hey, walked into the lounge room, hey, Fran, I quit and I'm taking your son to New Zealand. Like, can this be my 2 weeks notice? And
what a mess.
And I was like, can it be 2 weeks? She's like, yeah, why not? So, yeah, went to New Zealand, had fun, came back and had people messaging me being like, oh, you shot my friend's wedding, like Paige and Caleb's. Can you shoot mine? And I just remember being like, yeah, okay, why not? Like, I like money. This sounds great. And at the same time that happened, I was getting, you know, like I think I had 4 or 5 people messaging me about it. My partner at the time shattered his elbow and the surgery was really expensive. So I was like, all right, let's actually start a business of this thing. Let's actually do photography so I can pay for this elbow. Which, I mean, now I'm realising now that we're not together anymore, like that was a waste of a lot of money, but that's all right.
It was a good thing you did.
I mean, he has a working elbow now for the rest of his life. So maybe every time he, you know, like writes with a pen, he'll remember, you know, the sacrifice I made. So, yeah, so I just decided to, you know, like just go all in. You know, I was a graphic designer by day. So, you know.
Okay, so is this the job you didn't like?
Yeah, well, I liked it, but just the place I was working at, there were just some things I was like, I'm a pretty picky person and, you know, 9 to 5, actually it's 8 to 5. That's a lot of hours of your life. You've got to be happy. And I was commuting to Sydney, so that was like 4 hours a day on the train with like smelly people. It just wasn't a time. So I just wanted to shake things up. I was like, I'm young. It's time to be a little bit irresponsible because, you know, I might not get a chance again. But now I'm realizing you kind of can just be irresponsible as much as you want. It's really great. But yes, and then just kind of dove into photography. Still kind of I got another day job that I really liked with some really awesome people. And that was, you know, I could walk to it. It was like 800 meters from my house. I mean, I could walk. Most of the time I did drive, but it was within walking distance. So that helped. And then, just kind of, you know, shot weddings, edited them, just kind of learned by doing, I guess. I've always been a learn by doing sort of person. Like I always struggled in class, like when the teacher's just telling you what to do. And I struggled at uni when I was studying graphic design. And then I managed to get a scholarship to a college that was like super hands-on. It was like a 3-year degree in 3 months. Like, yeah, just crazy hands-on learning all the programs in a day. So I found like that's how I actually like, you know, learn things is by doing. And I don't know, I don't feel like I never felt the pressure of shooting someone's wedding. Like I know it's a huge important thing, but I feel like with pressure and, you know, I know like when they don't have huge expectations, it kind of helps. But I just kind of like to go with the flow and, you know, see how things go. So I never put too much pressure on things and just kind of, I don't know, maybe I thrive under, you know, like harder situations.
Well, I really, how many weddings have you shot so far?
I have no idea. Hey, not heaps. Probably be over 30, under 50. Okay. Oh no, maybe about 50, probably close to 50. Yeah, I'm sorry, my cat wants to be let out of the office.
That's all right. Bring the cat in. I'm allergic, but I'm sure Skype will sort.
Oh no, he's being a bit of a brat today. So just kind of. I'm glad he was behaving. I was just sitting in the corner licking his balls before, which was great. So if you hear any weird
well, he's
noise,
a bloke. You know, they can get away with that shit.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, I love him. He's my son, but he's basically a housemate. We just kind of coexist. He does his thing, I do mine. Sometimes we meet in the middle. So yeah, he's quite a good dude. He's all I'll be taking photos of for a little while, I think.
Oh well, that's what we're all going to be doing. You know, like cat photos.
Yeah,
someone's got to replenish that stock of cat photos on the internet.
Honestly, and he's a weird dude. Like, he is super odd. I got him off Gumtree like 2 years ago, and the chick was just like, he's too needy. Someone take him. I was like, yes, I'll have him. And now he like jumps in the shower with me and like comes for drives, and just he's obsessed with being near me. Like, he's a weird dude.
Wow. So tell me, this ability to hop up and turn your life upside down and do something different and go like that's a rare skill, and like these days, I think survival is adaptability. Adaption, is that a word? It's a thing, you know. And you just like, let's go to New Zealand, and then let's go back, and then let's drop this job, and it's really cool. How do you do that?
It's kind of funny because I'm definitely a planner. Like, I think about risks. Like, I don't really take risks as a person. Like, if I'm snowboarding and I, see a jump and I think about what I want to do, but I'm not 100% sure I can like land it perfectly and like not hurt myself, I'm not going to do it. Like, I don't take risks. I like to, calculate things and think about things. Then I'm also like pretty spontaneous. So I'll be like, fuck it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Let's go to New Zealand. Like, I've got enough coin. This will be fine. But yeah, I think like part of it is, like I grew up in a pretty, weird place. Like, I grew up in foster care, so I was constantly being jumped around. Sorry, someone's messaging you.
I can hear the ding, 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 dings.
All right, let me work out.
You're popular, so this is why it's okay, you know?
It's just a meme group chat. I actually put a pretty fire one in there earlier, so
no.
that's my fault. Let's see. Let me just try and mute this. Messages. I don't know. I'm not very, very good with
we don't edit this, by the way, too.
Yeah, so sorry guys, I'm just gonna.
No, it's just fine. I think it's life,
like, there we go, it's live. I worked out how to do something on a computer.
So you learn every day. You said you learn on the job, and
yeah, I do. There you go. I learned how to do it. But yeah, like, so getting up and jumping and just doing like I guess throwing myself into new things. It's because I grew up like quite tumultuously, like moving a lot. So I kind of learnt pretty young that it doesn't matter where you are, and it kind of doesn't matter what you're doing, because the next day like things could be completely different. So as much as, I do plan things out, like, once I said that's it and quit my job, I immediately, had like 50 tabs open on Google Chrome being like, all right, how do I set up a New Zealand bank account? And like, do I need, ambulance cover? And I found out that New Zealand is immediately more amazing than Australia. Like, did you know, like in New South Wales, if I get hit by a car, I still have to pay for the ambulance. But if I go to New Zealand, I get hit by a car, I don't.
Yeah, and even tourists in New Zealand get covered, aren't they?
Oh, Jacinda.
I know. As Si said at the end of his interview, she's our mum, and I said we could become the big island and join in, and because we all need a good mum.
I think Jacinda should adopt us. Like, I mean, I'm still adoptable. I was never actually adopted. Made a few sleepovers, but yeah, didn't ever get in the end game. So, I mean, if she wants to adopt me, that would be great. But if she just adopts the whole country, that'd be pretty sweet. But yeah, and I like throwing myself into new things, and I know I've never put too much pressure, I guess, on doing things right, but just having fun and like learning new things, I guess. Tell me,
you got family around you that travelled with you. You got a brother, haven't you?
I got 2 birth brothers and then 2 foster brothers who are really cool. But yeah, no, my family, they took me to England once, but yeah, no, never really like I guess travelled with them too much, because they took me in when I was 15, so it was kind of already grown up. But they did go to England with me, which is pretty cool. Got to see all the Harry Potter things.
Oh wow.
Which is very exciting. I love Harry Potter. Harry Potter is very dear to my heart. So
it's a pretty cool phenomenon, and it's it's something that everyone feels connected to. And I think going through adoption and everything, there's a character arc there that I think you'd feel very akin to. I used to read Harry Potter and think, wow, look at this. Like, he's in a living with a family that's really mean and really doesn't like him, but he's saving the wizarding world. Maybe I can save the wizarding world. So, yeah, it's pretty good for a little 7-year-old me to read along to. I did live in a cupboard under the stairs once, so it was very, very apt. It was very apt. Yeah, well, I did hear that there was an ABC interview done of you recently, and I listened to it back when it ran. It was absolutely mind blowing. And I suggest the listeners, we'll put it in the show notes. You go and have a listen to it. But you had a fair bit of moving before you were 15, didn't you?
Yeah, so I did a project recently on all the houses I lived in, which was, really, it was, I don't know, I didn't find it challenging. I found it actually really fun. It was kind of this, I'd drive to these houses, slow down, pick up my camera, take a photo, like run off. I kind of found it really cool to see, like, this was a physical place. This is where I was. And, like, just thinking about how much I'd changed since then. Like, it was really cool, like, progression of time almost that it captured. But I ended up taking photos of, there's my cat. Ended up taking photos of 30-something houses because there are a bunch that I couldn't take photos of because they were refuges, which is, got to keep those nice and hidden. But, yeah, so I ended up living in 40 houses before I turned 18. Which, yeah, I don't know. I actually really enjoyed it. It sounds weird.
Good hindsight by the sounds of it.
I don't know. I took advantage of it. I had a lot of fun. I'm just going to grab my cat real quick because he's jumping on everything. I had a lot of fun with it. I took advantage of it, I think. Like, when I was moving around with my mum, we had this code word or this code thing that, if we were leaving a school or leaving a home, she'd call the school and say, tell the kids that I'm picking them up and not to catch the bus, which was code for catch the bus, but don't leave anything behind because we're not coming back. So what I would do then, smart 7-year-old me, is I would go straight to the library with my new library card, just borrow out as many books as I wanted, and then leave. And I'd never come back, and they'd never be able to find us. So
you got a good library.
I had a good library. My mum actually called me when she was going through a storage unit like 5 or 6 years ago, saying, there's a big box of books here with different schools' things on them. Do you know anything about them? I was like, maybe Lloyd, like maybe my younger brother. She's like, but they're the Babysitters Club and Pony Pals. I'm like, it was definitely Lloyd. definitely Lloyd. So, I mean, Petersham Public School, Lewisham Public School, all you guys, I'm sorry for stealing your books, but it's just too easy.
So it was a photographic project where you went back and photographed as much of those as possible. And what have you, like, the objective was to make a record of something you probably at the time didn't have much of a chance of recording?
Yeah, I'd always had this idea ticking in my brain. I think when I first bought my camera, it was this kind of idea. I was like, it'd be really cool to go back and take photos of the houses. But, like, I'm a pretty lazy person. I don't really follow through with a lot of the things I come up with. So, yeah, I never got around to doing it. But then I was asked to create something for this art show, and the theme was home. And I was like, I'm going to smoke these bitches. I've got the best idea. And kind of thought, I'll go do it. Like, now's the time to actually do something about this and see, how it goes. And it was a lot of driving. Like, it was kind of split into 3 days. I did Central Coast houses, did Sydney and, like, Blacktown houses, and then went up to Coffs Harbour and got those houses. I did live in, like, parks for a while, but I couldn't be bothered going out that far. So I just omitted that one from the record. And 40 was a nice round number too. So I did, play with it a little bit. But, yeah, no, it was really cool to just go and, like, capture this. I don't know, like, the houses all still look the same, and they still had the memories. And, like, even looking at the photos now, it kind of, like, it kind of brings back those memories of being a kid there. And, as I was driving, like, I was with my partner at the time, and I was kind of saying, like, this house, there was, they had this foster brother there who was a midget who used to, like, whip me with sticks all the time. And I couldn't punch him back because he's younger than me and he's a midget. You can't punch a midget. And you're just kind of talking about all those stories that I'd picked up over time. And it was like, it was a fun experience. I really enjoyed it. Like, I don't think it was challenging. I thought it might have been, but yeah, no, it was just kind of cool to see where I'd come from and this, like, actual linear progression of it.
Obviously, like, managed all that stuff incredibly well. And
somehow,
and you're channeling it with your photography. I mean, the ability to take that job on at a music festival and to, I don't know. I always project myself because I'm such a homebody, and I can't imagine just moving to New Zealand. I can't imagine, just going to a music concert and making friends with all these people straight away. And it would take me a little bit too. But you engage quickly, and those pictures clearly you could tell that story. You could see it. It must be something in you, the visual side of things, to be able to tell that story, because that was taken up by a magazine. It was published. And then you've continued with photography. It's been your storytelling medium. Is it always going to be a storytelling medium, do you think?
I don't know. Like, I'm up to my third career, I think, already, third career path I've followed. But there's something about photography, like, I always love graphic design, and that's always going to be something that's a part of me because I'm quite nerdy. I really like communication, but then I'm quite arty. So it can be really hard to find a career that marries those things together. And graphic design is really perfect. So I really love graphic design, and I think, I've gotten quite good at it. But there's something about how I feel before, during, and after shooting a wedding. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like, I'm shooting the wedding, and it's like, I don't know, it's almost this unstoppable thing. Like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Like, it's like almost pure comfort. Like, I feel so comfortable in that scenario because I know how to do it, and I know how to get people to have fun, and I know how to, like, make people feel like they're not getting their photo taken, that they're just walking with a mate who's just saying some dick jokes to them. So yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it that every time I shoot a wedding, like, I come home with, like, bruised feet and sore shoulders, but, like, I feel so alive. There's something in it. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just being able to command people and
boss them around.
I don't know, like, sometimes I'll take a photo and you just stand there and you look at this photo, you're like, holy fuck, like, did I just take that? Like, did that moment just happen? Like, fuck, you're like, I need to get home now and, fuck the reception. I need to look at this photo on my computer on a big screen because I can't believe that moment just happened. I got to take photos of it. Like, I feel, I don't know, blessed is the word, privilege maybe. Like, I feel a great, like, sense of privilege to be able to capture moments for people. And especially, like, I don't know, I've always thought photos are a record, like, and I think being a photographer is kind of like, I don't know, it sounds wanky, but like, you're custodians of people's memories. Like, it's a big deal, I think. And I've always felt that, like, I have so much fun taking photos, but I've always felt that pure seriousness, which I think is what kind of fuels me to have like 17 backups of wedding raws and all that sort of stuff, because, like, there's this big seriousness of what you're doing is you're taking photos that, like, could live forever. Like, it's a really big deal. Like, in my office, actually, I'll show you my messy office. In my office, I have these photos on my wall. Yep. You can really see them. They're like these two old ones.
Oh, wonderful.
So I picked them up in an op shop in Kangaroo Valley for like $2 a piece. And I saw them and I was looking at them and I couldn't work out why I was so, like, I don't know, enthralled by these two photos. And, I just bought them and I was looking at them in the car and I was just kind of like, I kind of worked out. I was like, these photos, like, they're not the most perfect photos. One of them's quite poorly framed, honestly, but it lives forever. And now, the photographer,
it's proof, isn't it?
It's proof that those people were here, what they look like on that day. And I mean, the photographer probably didn't think that, like, those photos would live on as well as they have or be on some creep's wall in their office, but they are. And I feel like that's what photography is. It's, like, growing up as a kid, I didn't really have many people taking photos of me, and I don't have many photos of me as a child. I have a handful when I was like 2 or 3. I have like one from a school where I was there long enough to be there for school photos, and that's kind of like really it. I don't have a lot. So when I take photos, I feel this kind of, it's almost like this sting, but almost this, I don't know, this joy where I get to give something to people that I never got to get myself. That's I get to give people the proof of, you were here, this is what you look like, you're surrounded by people you love. And, like, you can look back on that for days. And, like, I've always been a bit disappointed. I feel like I could never become an amazing rapper because I don't have that sea of childhood photos where I look real baller to use. So I feel like I want to give that to people. I want to give people, like, some of the photos I've taken at kids at weddings. I'm like, fuck, if you become Kanye, use this, bro. This is pure gold. I'm going to back it up on my Dropbox for years just in case you come rolling back to me, super famous and want to do something cool. Because, I mean, that's what childhood photos are good for, right?
Yeah, totally. I agree. And everything you're saying, it's what drives me and what drives Kate. And so many people we connect with. It's what it. I think you've struck the right chord for the feeling of what we're doing here. And this is the thing that you're adding to people's lives. This is the thing that really feels like, because I think everyone in life wants to feel like contributing in some way. We all want to feel like we're an essential service. And, at right now, the spotlight's on all of us. And I know a lot of us are looking at ourselves in the mirror going, how essential is my service? And I mean, weddings are on hold, which is, kind of good for the sake of the virus and scary for the sake of the wedding industry as a bigger thing. But they're going to come back and they're going to happen, and they're going to be elopements, they're going to be simpler weddings, and there's going to be none of that stuff will actually stop. And so I think what we're doing is become such an important, certainly as the population grows and everyone sort of mashes up more and more, this idea that we were once together and we were once this couple and we were once here for this day and we did this thing with our family. I think that's such a beautiful thing. And you are there to make that thing stand for longer than the memories of those people that were there. It's what you do.
Exactly.
It's what
The
you
quote
do.
definitely has beauty. Our memories depend on a faulty camera in our mind. Like, I love that line so much. I'll probably get it tattooed on me at some point, because why not? But I feel like that's it. Like, memories, there's a faulty camera in our mind, and that's what our memories, are. And it feels really cool to be able to, I'm so thankful for the technology of cameras. Like, fuck, I wouldn't know how to make a camera right now. But thank goodness some people do, because now we have that ability to just freeze time for a second, and then it can live on for years.
Yeah. So tell me, one of the things that's bugs me is you take this picture, right, and you've got these people in it, and I always thinking, because I'm dealing with my grandfather's mess, God love him, but I'm always thinking about finding those photos in an antique store, like the one on your wall, and you don't know who it is, you don't know who they were. Have you got any thoughts and plans to how to add that information, or add that, I don't want to use the word add that value because that's a shitty term, but add that to the picture somehow that will help that person finding in a junk store in 60 years' time go, oh my God, look at that.
I mean, I used to do this thing with graphic design. So if my old boss is listening, I hope you're not. You won't be. But I used to do this thing when clients were being painful. I would watermark a 3% opacity penis on some things, just like a little penis, just in the corner, real small. Just as a thing to be like, oh, look, you're holding that book, but you don't know there's a watermark penis on it. Just to make me feel good about how annoying the client was. So maybe I could do something like that. But I almost think it doesn't, matter if my seal isn't on it, or, you can't find the people. It's just a reminder, like, these people could be actually, they're probably dead. But, those people, like, don't have to live on forever. And, their stories don't have to live on forever for the photos to,
Yes.
I think sometimes, like, I try and take photos where their story is, like shoot wider, get the whole thing, like, kids chucking a tantrum as, the couple are having their first kiss, like that sort of thing, like, I guess captures the story enough. Like, it doesn't have to be traced back to me or the people. I guess,
I know. I'm not so concerned about you. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to make it sound that way. I want that picture story to be broader, and I think I kind of want it all. I don't know how to do it. I kind of imagine audio recordings embedded in raw files. I imagine people using metadata properly and keywords and captions. I imagine all that stuff, and I don't know whether it's a reality or not, but I just like the idea that we're in an age of technology. I mean, there was technology back then. Turn the bloody print over, get a pen, and write on the back.
Actually, it could be written on the back. I don't think I've ever checked. But yeah, I mean, there could be that. Yeah, I really like that. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, we're in a pretty new place with photography. Like, I've been doing a lot of GIFs, like animated photos.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like that's been really cool. Like, just burst mode, slapping them together in Photoshop. And, there's this one I did recently where, like, it's my favorite photo, even though it's not a photo anymore, because in it, like, you see his smile as he sees her. You can see, like, his chest rising. Like, there's something beautiful about the, like, breathlessness of this guy looking at his bride as they lay on the grass. That, I don't know, just makes my heart beat a little harder. And I think that's kind of what we want to do. And maybe, we can find new technology to, be able to do that, to be able to make people's hearts feel, a bit warmer when they see photos. And yeah, it could be cool. Like, I'm really keen to see what some people come up with. Animated GIFs are pretty hot right now. I've been using one of my old film cameras to do that, like the Nishika.
Yep.
Takes like 4 photos of the one moment though, and it's this really cool way of kind of capturing more of the scene. It really, like, you look at it and you're like, this is a still moment, but it's moving, and I really like that. Like, that.
See, I can see you're getting challenged by the desire to want to put more into a picture. Have you muddled with video at all?
Yeah, I actually did a bit of video back in the day, but now cameras are a bit too heavy and I've got the upper body strength of a toddler, so it's not for me.
Where did that come from? Surely holding your iPad up in bed or something like that.
Yeah, I thought so too, but honestly, I can't do a push-up. I've never been able to do a push-up. I can tear a phone book in half, but I can't do a push-up.
Okay, you can tear a phone book in half. So how can you not do a push-up if you can do that?
I don't know. It's different. I mean, there's a real trick to doing the phone book. You can YouTube it. It's actually really easy.
I saw Adam Savage doing it on Mythbusters.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. But yeah, I don't know. I'm always been pretty weak in my arms, but somehow I can, like, hold a camera up. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, video is fun. I think, like, videographers, like, I look at videographers and the way they tell stories, and I'm like, fucking hell, you're insane. And I'm like, I would love to be able to do that, but there's almost this part of me that's like, oh, it's just really easy to just take the photo though,
Imagine all that editing time.
I mean, I love editing. Editing's my favorite thing to do. Like, I mean, I love taking the photos, but man, I have fun, you know, in my office with some tunes pumping, like editing those photos and making them look like what I see them to be, you know? Like, I like to shoot really dark so I can, like, bring up as much as I want. Like, you know, raw images are pretty incredible. You can do so much with them. So, yeah, like, I like to play with photos a bit when I'm editing. And, you know, I have so much fun doing that. But, yeah, I don't think I could do video like the video guys do it. They have another brain that I look at and I'm just like, I want to touch it. I want to see how you do this. Like, But, yeah, it's almost in awe. Like, there's so many videographers out there I look at. I'm like, you're incredible.
And the next level is when you look at a filmmaker like, you know, Stanley Kubrick, and you go, okay, so you not only made this beautiful thing, but you also commanded all those people around to do the right thing and hold your vision all the way through to the big screen. Like there's 100%. Some people magic skills, some like you're a wizard.
Yeah. Exactly, wizardry. That's it. Like I think, like I was watching that new Wes Anderson movie trailer, and I was just like, it's like, how are you doing this? I'm like, I'm seeing it, but I don't know how you're doing this, man. Like, everyone is in the perfect spot for this to look absolutely beautiful, but then it's not perfect because that's part of it. I love the way there's so many people out there that, you know, have so many different ways of their brains working. And it's really cool. Like, I'm just constantly in awe of, you know, so many people out there. I'm like, I don't know how you got that photo, and I love it. You know, like Ollie Sampson. I'm like, I don't know how you did that, but I like it.
I don't know if Ollie actually knows how he did it. You know?
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. It's just magic. There's some wizards out there, and it's cool being surrounded by them.
And, you know, I think and I'm not being critical of Ollie in any way, but if you overanalyze why you know, how you make something, sometimes it can kind of spoil it a little bit. And maybe it's something for retirement, you know, to sit back and go, well, how in the hell did I do it? Or when you turn, like a lot of photographers, rightly so, have become good teachers because they've got to the point in their career. And I don't know if you've seen this in the industry or not, but I think weddings are particularly challenging as you get a little bit older, as you sort of move through the age bracket of people that are getting married all the time and the connections and all that kind of stuff, to still be that photographer on the block. So once you get past that point and you start looking for other things to do, I think that's when you start going, okay, why in the hell was I so good at that stuff? But, you know, I think you shoot stuff other than weddings, don't you? You do, but it's mostly people?
Yeah, I always try the different things. I like to put my fingers in a lot of pies. You know, I shot live music exclusively for a really long time, and that was awesome. Got to, you know, take photos of like Ben Howard and Death Cab for Cutie and just like amazing musicians, which I've had a lot of fun doing. You know, I take, you know, travel photos, like I tried landscapes, but I never loved it like I loved shooting the connection between two people, or like, you know, a day. You know, I never felt that same thing that I do when I'm shooting people, because I feel like, you know, I shoot a cool landscape and immediately in my head I'm like, what's missing is the people. Like, I want to see connection. I want to see people making out and being happy and stuff. Yeah. You know, it's always been my favorite thing to do. So I don't actually, you know, I think I'm pretty much shooting weddings now. But yeah, we'll see. I shot families for a while, but I didn't feel like I was as good at it as I was with weddings. So it kind of felt like I was almost taking something from people whose families I was capturing, because I was like, there's people out here who could do this so much better. And yeah, I was like, I want you to have those photos with those people. You know, I want the absolute wizards of the industry to be taking your family photos, because you deserve like your family captured in the best way. And I kind of felt like there was something that made me not as great at families as, you know, weddings. I prefer, you know, the big day and, you know, the food and that sort of stuff.
Yes, it's fabulous. And it's also fabulous drama. You know, that if
so
you can ride that very carefully and you can be the stabling influence. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably projecting on, you know, imagining all weddings are like this. Most weddings are actually kind of wonderful and lovely. But there's always that element of nerves and everything like that. And, you know, you're really good with people. I think you'd be great at steering people around those situations.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. You know, I think that's my favorite thing about weddings isn't actually taking the photos. It's being able to hang out with people and like actually give them a bit of an experience, I think, too. Like, you know, have fun and, yeah, take photos along the way, but, you know, give them this part of their day. I don't know. Yeah, I just really enjoy hanging out with people and getting to know their family dynamics. And I've always been really good at catching on to people's family dynamics really quickly, because, you know, I was dumped at the doorstep of, you know, so many different families, and I had to work out how their family operated in order to, you know, survive. So I really like kind of being back in that place in a way, and being in this family that's like, oh yeah, my parents are divorced and they haven't seen each other until this very day. And they tell me that, you know, right before the family photos. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, all right, I know how to work this. This is fine. All right, Dad, no, yep, you're out of this, you know? So yeah, I love the people aspect of weddings. I think that's why I feel the way I do when I shoot them, is because, yeah, you get to connect with so many people and have so much fun. Like in my contract, I have, that I get a meal, but I also have in there that I get seated with the guests, which does ensure I get a meal, but also means I get to meet some of the people who love this couple, and I get to hear why they love the couple. And then I usually end up crying in the speeches too. I'm there with my camera, like kind of actually just using my face. And then, I get to have fun with these people I've just spent an hour talking to on the dance floor. Like I really just adore the connection of weddings. There's just something about talking to people.
I mean, it's such a like you're living the dream. It's just wonderful. So tell me, how are you finding on the Central Coast, ignoring what the government's shutting weddings down, how are you finding bookings and that, back past the COVID-19 crash?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still getting some inquiries. I'm still, working with my couples about getting, their weddings postponed. And my favourite venue actually on the coast has just had to close due to coronavirus, like permanently, which has been really sad because a lot of my couples, I didn't realise how many of my future couples have been, booked there. So I've been trying to workshop with them, try and find them a, ceremony venue that fits their vibe, which has been really fun, like, getting on Google Maps and all that sort of stuff, just trying to help them, make their day what they want it to be. But I mean, weddings on the Central Coast are interesting. Like there's a definite, get a lot of, beach and RSL weddings, which I don't necessarily shoot. So I don't actually shoot on the Central Coast a lot. I get a lot in Sydney, Newcastle kind of thing. And the ones I do get on the Central Coast are usually the same few venues, because I guess in my style of photography and, guess the sort of weddings I like shooting, there isn't a lot the Central Coast has to offer at the moment, but there's a few venues that have been popping up that I'm like, yeah, you are a sexy venue. I'd like to shoot you. And yeah, I don't know, like it's a really good community up here, amazing community of Central Coast and Newcastle photographers. Like we're all pretty good pals. We hang out, we check in with each other. So I think that's actually been something that's really cool that's come out of, COVID-19 is like, I know we're getting to hang out more as photographers. Like, there's the Zoom chats and the FaceTime calls, and, we'll FaceTime each other and like just be working in our offices, hearing the human noise they're making. Like, yeah, I know, I really do like the Central Coast for weddings. I probably wouldn't move. It's quite nice up here. We get, good beaches, good forests. We kind of get a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'm not too stressed given, COVID-19. I mean, have you heard of post-disaster acceleration? Yeah. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
So, basically, something big happens, world-changing, and people reevaluate what they want in life. And I feel like people are going to be reevaluating what they want, and that's going to mean babies and weddings. So I feel like 2021 is going to be a really busy year for a lot of us.
I think so. Not only the compression.
Yeah.
Not only the compression, but I think there will be that desire to do some traditional things. I think perhaps we might see smaller weddings.
I love smaller weddings.
Yeah, where they're more focused on what it is rather than just ticking all the boxes. I don't know. I imagine I'd rather see that, because they're expensive things, and as a young person, spending a lot of money on something expensive like that is tough. But that means there'll be a demand on a lot more smaller venues. And I think that makes life more interesting, more room for more photographers. I don't know, but I do feel completely in line with you on that. It's going to be a crazy ride once we emerge.
I'm ready.
Well, it's not yet. We've only been locked down for a couple of weeks, and we're
I'm
already.
Ready, man. Paul. I've been waiting. I've got so much time. I mean, I've already finished The Office twice since lockdown has happened. I mean, what else am I going to do? But just wait, just getting ready.
Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, I might have to go on to that. I've done Community as well. I'm starting to run out of shows I've already rewatched, but we'll see. There's a few new ones. I mean, Tiger King is amazing.
Tiger King?
So good. Holy crap.
Holy crap, I don't get that.
Yeah, just wow. It just kept getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah. Well, my friend, let's wrap it up. Is there anything you're thinking about that, I know you're not sure whether this is going to be your career going forward, but is there anything that you're dying to track in photography that you're really hanging out to see happen?
I don't know. I think interesting question. It's kind of interesting because I guess lately in a lot of the Facebook groups, we've been talking about trends and how that sort of stuff happens, and people saying that They know of venues who aren't booking as many weddings now, and that's not just because of coronavirus. And, there's this whole thing of you have to adapt to what is current to survive and keep going. And, I've always thought of that as, keep adapting if you want this to be your career. But and I think most people should and have, I've built my photography business about kind of me, the person. Like I'm not just a photographer, because there's so many photographers out there. Like my point of difference is, me. I'm the unique selling point. There's nothing, I can take an all right photo. A lot of people can. But, I try and inject myself into my photos as much and, into my copy on my website. I'm a bit of a bogan and I'm a bit loud. So I use loud, weird words on my website, to try and get couples who are like me so that I can capture their day the best way for them, because, there's this similar connection somehow. So I think I'm really looking forward to seeing maybe people shift more towards that instead of being, giant studios that are just photographers, seeing couples that, are booking photographers not just to have their day documented, but booking, people. They're booking the people, people they're going to spend the whole day with. Yeah. And, people have that specific style. I think there's so many styles out there and so many different people doing amazing things that, if I'm getting married, I'm going to have a really hard time picking a photographer because there's just so much good out there and so much I connect to. But I think I'm really looking forward to that shift of, seeing people adapt to turning their businesses to being just them, because, that is the point of difference. That's all we've got,
That's
we're
all we got.
Right? But we're just different in all different ways, and we're capturing their days differently based on our personal experiences and our past history and just the way we see life. So, yeah, I'm really keen to see, more people and move to that, I guess.
I think you're spot on. In fact, I think, if anything, that's exactly what's happened and is what continues to happen. There's just nothing else for us all. The business aspect is business. You got to take your costs and your income and how many you can do, and that's what gets at the end. But in the end, it's you and it's the people you're working with, and that's photography. And I'm so pleased you're making your way. I'm so pleased you're doing such a great job. I love your work. Is the website the best place to find you? In the Instagram?
Yeah, probably. So my business is idlewildcreative.co. My website's still now that I've finally got time, I'm trying to redo it, but that means blogging, because I built it probably when I first actually started. And I think since then I've found my feet more and I found my style, and I'm not too scared to actually use words that describe me and, be a bit more, daring, I guess, with what my website looks like. So I've been having a lot of fun redoing that. So very thankful, I spent, 5 years as a graphic designer, because that's definitely coming in handy here.
It looks great.
It's great. Yeah.
And the site looks great. And the name is killer. Idlewild. I just love it.
Got it from my favorite book as a kid, which actually, there you go. I've got a collection. That's half my collection. I collect Anne of Green Gables books. So every time, that's actually how I found those photos. Every time I go to a new place, I go into the op shops there and try and find a copy of Anne of Green Gables, and I pretty much always do. It was really hard when I was in Japan, though. They were all in Japanese. It was just hard to work out what was one.
Did you buy a Japanese version?
I tried, but I got so overwhelmed, so I just left. It would have been great, but the bookstores are on the same same street as all the snowboard stores, so my time was a bit divided. But yeah, it's from, in Anne of Green Gables, there's this line where she talks about, this beautiful white trees, and they call it Idlewild. It's beautiful, and it kind of reminded me of, what weddings are. But I struggled so hard trying to pick a business name because, I've got multiple names. Bobby's the name I've had since I was 8, but it's not my birth name. It's not my legal name. And my last name is my birth father's name, which I don't feel much of a connection to. So it's this whole weird thing of I was like, I can't name my business my name and be real cool. So I had to come up with something different. And I thought, Anne of Green Gables, I would always read that book as a kid, and I felt such a huge connection to it because here she was, this crazy kid, in the foster care system, and she ended up meeting these amazing people who took her in and loved her. And I kind of felt so much of a connection to her because she was, pretty wild, and I was a very wild child. So I felt like it kind of summed me up more, I think. And that's why I went with it. It's not the easiest to pronounce. So every time I say it to someone, they immediately have to get me to spell it. So I'm always just give me your phone. I'll type it in Instagram. I'm sorry. But yeah, I feel like it sums me up more than my actual name, which is nice.
It works two ways. That works two ways. Either people go, oh my God, it's wild, idle, I don't know. And then, it sticks in their craw for that reason. And the other thing is, sure, it's a pain in the neck. Simple URLs are great, but I think the sticking and the story makes it much more valuable than you pulling some sort of a, live, life, love
That was
Crappy
actually
name.
taken, unfortunately. The .com.au, all taken. So, yeah, had to go with something a bit weird.
Oh, we love it. Hey, look, thank you so much for your time. You are
you.
a goddess. You really are. And
I'll put that on my Tinder bio. Thank you.
do. Yeah. No, I think your work is amazing. I think your attitude is killer. Your story is the best. And I'm so grateful that you could give us some time to chat. And
Thank you.
stay in contact. People can reach you through are you a Facebook person, or what's sort of the best way to get you?
I've got Facebook, but I mostly just use that for memes and being a bit of an asshole in Facebook groups. So Instagram's good. I mean, I post most of my stuff on Instagram. So yeah, Instagram at idlewildcreative.co. There's a lot of cat videos, so if you're really into that, I have a little thing that's just shenanigans. It's mostly my cat. He's a weird dude. So
well, I'll tell you what, I'll put all that in the show notes.
Awesome.
And so thanks. And hey, look, stay safe. Enjoy that Central Coast lockdown. And I hope the cat gets, a little bit of time to itself over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I might take him for a walk later. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
So how was that Bobby Hendry interview?
I love Bobby Hendry.
I know. It's cool. I would encourage anyone who's interested to reach out to her because she's a chatty person.
Yeah, she is. She's very generous, her time and thoughts, and she has some stories about that cat. You were all like, no, whatever, who cares about
And
the
you know
cat?
cats can get COVID?
Oh, fucking shut up. You're loving that, aren't you? This is the man who hates cats.
Only because I'm deeply allergic to them.
Sorry, all of you out there who loves cats. I love cats. He hates cats.
I'm deeply
he's
allergic
shit.
to them.
Yeah, I know you're deeply allergic, but you also just have well, you married a cat. I am the human version of a cat. So speaking of that.
Hang on. Before we do. This is a mistake Kate has made. This is a mistake Kate has made. A moment of colour this week is yellow, right? Can you see her wearing any yellow?
Tell me. You did not brief the art department appropriately.
Have a look. What have you got? A tiger print, haven't you? And what colour are tigers?
Well, yellow, but
right. So that'll do.
Well,
and
whatever.
you were going to now bring up something else about tigers.
Growl. I was going to bring up the stupid thing we've all watched this week.
Tiger King.
And
he's yellow.
And he's a narcissist. So borderline narcissistic personality disorder is what that man suffers from, sadly, as does Donald Trump, who's busy tragically killing off half of America. And I thought it was a really viciously terrible and amazing show.
It was amazing, and
we watched it with our teenagers.
Yeah, you really should watch it. You will be.
It's a car wreck. It's a car wreck. You shouldn't watch it.
Shouldn't you?
Nah, because it's crap. But we watched it because they're all just nutters. The real problems with those animals are not being dealt with by the fact that all these people are idiots, and none of them should have a platform. This guy now thinks he's King Dick because he's got all these people, and they pitched it. They cut out, apparently, I've read in the press, they cut out a whole lot of his racism so that he looked like a more sympathetic character, which is bullshit. Yeah. So now, narcissistic lunatic number 347, who's getting a whole lot of fucking press and thinks he's really fantastic, and he's not. He's a monster, and he should be ignored, roundly ignored, which is the worst thing you can do to a narcissist.
So,
however, my issue that I wanted to talk about before, when you were all, no, we're past the 16-minute point, is, look at me! Thank you.
Hang on, there's a camera there.
Do you know what? Yeah, there's a camera there, but it's not on your fucking laptop. Do you know what I think we're going to do? We're going to put a white screen with a "Look at Kate" written on it so that you stop fucking looking at your laptop.
Can you finish ranting, please?
So, my thing is, what are we all doing at the moment?
Watching Ozark?
Right.
How did I get that right?
I love Ozark. If you haven't watched it, watch fucking Ozark. It's the best thing ever. But what my point is, we are as a world turning to the arts for comfort.
That is cool.
For comfort, for saviour, for soothing, for psychological relief. We are turning to the arts. Whether we turn to trash like Tiger King or beautiful films like Parasite. If you haven't seen Parasite, you have.
Yeah, I loved it.
We are turning to art, like music. We were upstairs. You were playing Bach, and it was just beautiful. And so, my problem is, and now I will hop up onto my high horse.
I'm looking now at the time again, by the way.
Oh, fuck you. My problem is that whilst we have ScoMo at the moment, and ScoMo has done a relatively good job. I mean, he's no Jacinda Ardern, but, you know, he's done all right. We're not fucked. Like, America is, like, in big trouble. So
Sweden is too, apparently.
whilst that's all fine and well, we need to remember that ScoMo closed the art department.
Yes.
Okay? So ScoMo is not a friend of the arts. And there is a major movement, there's a movement that's trying to be major around making sure that people who work in the arts get access to some sort of subsidy for their income as well. And a lot of people in the arts have really complicated income streams, and the people that they work for have complicated income streams, which means they're not eligible to get a lot of the funding that's out there at the moment.
Yep.
And he has zero desire to help any of us because he had zero desire to help any of us before this thing happened.
Yeah.
And the reality is that we as a world rely on the arts now more than we ever have before, and we will continue to. And if we do not put that as a priority, as a way that we innovate and lift ourselves out of this, if we do not do that as a country, other countries will, and their artists will get in on the action before our artists will, and we will turn more and more into a bunch of dithering fuckheads who do nothing but watch The Bachelor. And that is not against The Bachelor because it's some great trash. And you know what? Sometimes we all need a bit of trash. What I'm saying is that we are all artists. We are in the artistic fields, the creative fields, and we must demand that this government take seriously the importance that has and has been for this crisis. It has been so critical to all of our survival. And to ignore that in the face of more economic rationalism, which is coming our way in a minute, when there's a fucking recession and everyone's like, pull yourself up by your bootstrap, blah, 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 whatever. We need to remember what we all turned to and what saved us. And it wasn't fucking economic rationalism, and it wasn't trickle-down economics, and it wasn't stupid people who shut down the arts department in the national, federal, whatever.
Yeah. No,
sorry, I'm
agree with you.
spittingly angry
that
because,
that being said, we are still grateful we're in Australia, and
of course, yes, we love Australia, blah blah blah.
The level of socialism that
we
have here that allowed for us to go through this, and for most people to get.
And as I said last week, socialism and artistic importance have nothing to do with each other. This is not. It's not because you're into art or because you're an artist that therefore you're going to be poor, or that you don't care about money, or that you don't want money. I mean, some of the richest people in the world are rich because of art. I mean, even Jeff goddamn Bezos, who I loathe, is rich because of art. He made his money because of art. Books, it's art, right? So all of this stuff around it not being financially viable or blah, 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 it's crap. It makes fuck ton of money. And it is the thing that we are all right now willing to spend money on. And so whilst, yes, weddings are being cancelled and pushed off and blah, 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 they will come back. They will come back with a vengeance, and people are going to have the babies and the blah, 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 all of that, right? But what I'm saying is that the most important thing we do as a community is get together and tell the government, every level of the government, the state government, your local government, how important art has been in this process and in saving us all mentally and physically and everything else, and that this is going to go on for years, and we need to fight for the importance that we have in the entire world community. I'm off my horse. I'm off it. We should put a little marker in there if you'd like to miss Kate ranting like a crazy bitch.
So
tune back in at minute.
So your moment of colour.
Oh, Jesus. Such a, you know what? He's the guy in all the fucking meetings who's like,
minutes.
If we could get back onto the agenda, please. There's not 24 minutes. There's not 24 minutes because it's 16 minutes before that. It's added on there. See, if you don't look at your laptop and you engage with me, your wife, who you love, it won't matter what that thing says.
You're testing me, darling.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
moment of colour.
Because I really like doing this.
I know.
So this is from the beautiful book, Cassie St. Clair's The Secret Lives of Colour. So
we should get her on for a chat.
Well, it's just gorgeous. I just love it. There's so many wonderful stories. And actually I was struggling to pull something out the yellow. There's one for you
What do you
here.
mean struggling?
Well, there's so many stories in each one. I can't read them all. They're all
No,
that'd be
and
crazy.
because that would be copyright infringement.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. There was a fabulous one I thought, because, there's a lot of things that come under the colour yellow, like gold, for example, which, funny enough, gold is technically yellow, but it's not really a colour. It's more of an event because it's so reflective. It requires light.
An event. I love that.
I call it an event. This book
Gold
doesn't.
is an event.
But how about this? In a 2014 survey, blonde-haired prostitutes
Yellow-haired prostitutes as a non-blonde.
Blonde prostitutes earn more than any other kind.
Yes. Well, would you like me to give you a feminist rant on
no.
blonde?
Let's get off.
How
let's
men
get off that.
just fuck the hair color. It's not like the person. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting onto a real edgy feminist moment.
So let's look at the yellow that seems to make a difference to the art world so much, because before the 1700s, yellow was a really tricky color to make.
Really?
It was. Look, early doors, a lot of the yellow pigment came out of India. And there's this one particular pigment which I thought was interesting called Indian yellow. And this is how they make it. So they trace back to India, to this village where this particular product came from. And this particular pigment was brought into England and used in the art society. So this is before the 1700s. So they traced it back and they found a small group of milkmen, or goalas, which are Indian cow herders.
Goalas.
Goalas, yes. Not koalas. They tended a herd of ill-nourished cows they fed on mango leaves and water.
Ill-nourished?
Yes, yeah. On this diet, the cows produced an extraordinary, luminous, yellow urine.
Oh, no.
About 3 quarts per day, which the goalas collected in small earthen pots. Each night they boiled this down, strained it, and rolled the sediment into balls that were tossed over fire and left to dry out in the sun. And that's why everyone complained that it stunk a bit.
That's horrendous.
So let's fast forward, because there was a few other yellows, but I won't go through all their stories. The chrome yellow was the yellow that Vincent van Gogh used, which is incredible.
Did you hear that I was in an art shop and they said that chromium is like seriously poisonous?
Yeah.
They pulled it out of all the colours.
So what happened was in
makes you cuckoo.
1762, it was discovered like as a sort of mineral salt in the Borisov gold mine in Siberia. It was called crocite from the Greek word saffron, which is, of course, we know as yellow. And the scientists discovered that out of this they could bring it down to this chromium material, which is less benign. It's less dangerous than lead, and there was a lead yellow as well. So it was less dangerous. But they've discovered recently in analysing Van Gogh's work, because he pretty much used chrome yellow, that it's actually darkened considerably over the years. And so what we see
of his painting?
Yeah.
The actual pieces.
The actual yellow has faded to dark.
Oh,
so not really faded, and it's not intensified, but it's darker. So what we see of Van Gogh's work was probably more intense in the same, because Van Gogh is kind of famous for the daisies and and all the yellow sunflowers, and
now they're all over old lady tea towels.
All over old lady tea towels. It's all good artists. So that's really my moment of colour. Did you like that?
Beautiful moment of
colour. A nice
colour.
little tight one.
A little bit of cow piss.
And you know what? It's also not cow piss. You know what the nice thing about it is? When most of the time that we spent with Bobby Hendry on the side of a volcano, she was wearing a yellow jumpsuit.
She was, and it was.
Yahtzee!
It was glorious.
Tiger King.
Down.
Yellow
well done,
Tigers.
honey. Well
Bobby
done.
Hendry. Thanks for listening, everybody.
That's it. You're wrapping it up, aren't you?
We're wrapping it up.
Look how you managed for 30 seconds while reading a book not to look at the fucking laptop.
I didn't. Hang on. Happy anniversary.
Oh, sweetheart.
I love you lots. Bye.